Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This time we will going to learn about manufacturing of Portland cement. So let's start. So for the manufacturing of Portland cement, we need to follow these steps. So following are the steps which are involved in the formation. Number one, mixing of raw materials. We have two types of raw materials for Portland cement. That is one, calcareous materials and argillaceous materials. So after taking and mixing the argillaceous and calcareous material, they are then burned into kiln. At appropriate temperature, these material forms clinkers. After the formation of clinkers, these clinkers are grinded in a grinding mills. And then finally they are stored and packed. So let's start the process. So here we have mentioned two types of materials, calcareous materials and argillaceous material. Calcareous materials are the materials which basically supply the source of calcium. So following are the materials which supply the source of calcium. Limestone, marl, calcite, shell, seashell, etc. So these are the minerals which we get naturally. Now if we talk about argillaceous material, then it includes silicon, aluminium and iron. So these are the sources of silicon. These are the natural sources of aluminium and these are the sources of iron. So clay is a common source for silicon, aluminium and iron. So from these minerals we will get calcareous material as well as argillaceous material. So this table shows the raw materials for Portland cement manufacture. Now let us talk about the process. The mixing procedure of the manufacture of this cement is done in two ways. Number one is dry process and number two is wet process. So it depending upon the source of materials which we get. If the materials are hard, then we used to go through dry process. And if the materials are soft, then we usually go through wet process. So let us talk about both the processes individually. So what happens in this dry process? In dry process, both the types of materials, that is calcareous and argillaceous raw materials, are firstly crushed. They are crushed into to get 2 to 5 centimeter size pieces separately, and then these crushed materials are then stored in a bin, as you can see here in this ray diagram. Calcareous materials are crushed, argillaceous materials are crushed, and then they are stored in a bin. Then they are mixed and pulverized. Pulverization by this process, the crushed materials we get a fine powder. So this fine powder is then it is taken into the rotary kiln. So now the raw materials are mixed in a specific proportion so that the average composition of the final product is maintained properly. So this is the ray diagram by which you can get the process. Now let us talk about the wet process. The only difference between the dry and wet process is that in wet process we basically remove adhering organic matter found in a clay by washing it with the help of water. So here in the ray diagram you can see that water is added after the crushing. So after crushing, water is added to wash off the organic matter found in the clay. Then it is stored in bins. So here the paste is stored in the bin because water when mixed with the powder, that is when it is mixed with the raw material, a slurry is formed. So what is slurry? Slurry is basically, the term slurry is basically the material which is mixed with the water. That is, raw material is mixed with water and paste is formed. This is known as slurry. Now the grinding process can be done in a tube mill or in a ball mill. Then the slurry is led into the collecting basin. Okay, and finally its composition is adjusted. Slurry contains around 30 to 40% of the water, that is, which is stored in the tank and then kept ready for the rotary kiln. So after mixing with the water, the slurry is then pulverized and finally is taken into the rotary kiln, where the proper burning of the raw material is done. So this is the ray diagram for the wet process. Now we can compare both the processes. In case of dry process, the hardness of the material, if you talk about that, it is quite hard. Whereas in case of wet process, any type of raw material can be used which has a soft nature. Now, if we talk about fuel consumption, then in dry process, the fuel consumption is low and in wet process, it is high. This is because in wet process, water is added for the formation of slurry. So, initially, the amount of fuel is required to remove this added water. So, hence the fuel consumption is high in case of wet process. As a result of which the time taken by the process will also become high. So in wet process, the time, it is a time consuming process if we compare it with the dry process. If we talk about quality, then in case of wet process, we get a superior quality of coal. Cost of production of wet process is low as compared to the high. So overall cost of wet process is cheaper. If we talk about physical state, then in dry process we take raw material in a solid form, whereas in wet process we take raw material in a paste form, that is in the form of slurry. Now, after getting all the slurry and the raw material in pulverized form, that is in a fine powder, then they are burned into kiln. So, rotary kiln is an apparatus in which the burning of the raw material is done to get appropriate proportion of clinkers. So let us talk about this burning process. The burning process is carried out in a rotary kiln where the raw materials are rotated at 1 to 2 rounds per minute at its longitudinal axis. Now, what is rotary kiln? Rotary kiln is made up of stainless steel having the diameter of 2.5 to 3 meters and the length of 90 to 120 meters. This kiln is usually inclined at an angle of 45 degree. This is done so that the movement or the materials move from one section to another section automatically. If the angle is inclined at 45 degree, then the raw materials can be sent easily from one section to the another section. Now, the inner side of the kiln is lined with refractory brick. Now, what are refractory bricks? Refractory bricks are the materials which can withstand very high temperature and pressure. Since the kilns have a section which have a temperature of around 1500 degrees Celsius, that is the last section of the kiln basically have a temperature around 1700 degrees Celsius. So as to protect this steel body from this so much of high temperature, this kiln is internally lined with a refractory brick so that this kiln can withstand the temperature of 1500 to 1700 degrees Celsius. This much of temperature is required for the formation of clinkers. Now the kiln is supported on the column of the concrete and it is rested on the roller bearing so that it can be moved easily from one place to another since it is very heavy. Now the raw mix of dry process or a slurry is injected into the kiln from the upper end. So these raw material are charged from the upper end of the kiln. Now the kiln is heated with the help of powdered coal or oil or hot gases from the lower end of the kiln so that the long hot flames can be produced. So the inclination also allow the formation of flame, production of a good nice long flame. As the kiln position is inclined and it rotates slowly, the material charge from upper end moves towards the lower end. So automatically the material moves from one end to the another end due to the inclination at 45 degree. Now in the upper part, water or moisture in the material is evaporated at 400 degree temperature. So this process is known as drying zone. So the first part of the kiln is a drying zone. Here the temperature is of about 400 degrees Celsius. At about this temperature, all the moisture is removed. Now the second part of the kiln, which is known as calcination zone. Here the temperature is around 1000 degrees Celsius. So here the decomposition of limestone takes place. And after the decomposition of limestone, here the equation is mentioned. After the decomposition of limestone, the magnesium carbonate is decomposed at around 1200 degrees Celsius. Now the remaining materials in the form of small lumps known as nodules are formed. Now this material is now moved to the lower part of the kiln. Here the temperature is 1500 and 1700 degrees Celsius. So here lime and clay are react and forms different types of calcium aluminates and calcium silicates. So variety of aluminates and silicates we get here in this clinkering zone. This zone is known as clinkering because here the clinkers of cements are formed. So what are clinkers? The aluminates and silicates of calcium fuse together to form small and hard stones. These are known as clinkers. The size of the clinkers usually ranges from 5 to 10 mm. So these are the reactions of formation of clinkers. As you can see, in very first reaction, dicalcium silicate is formed. In second reaction, tricalcium silicate is formed. And in third reaction, tricalcium aluminate is formed. Whereas in fourth reaction, tetracalcium aluminoferrite is formed. So these are the four different types of clinkers we get, or these are produced in the clinkering zone. Now these clinkers, which are formed in the clinkering zone, they are coming from the burning zone. These are very hot. So to bring down the temperature of the clinkers, air is admitted in the counter current direction at the base of the rotary kiln. Since here the temperature was about 1500 to 1700 degrees Celsius, so these clinkers are very hot. So we need to cool them. So the next process is cooling of clinkers. So this is a picture of a rotary kiln. As you can see, here we have three sections in the kiln. Specifically, the first section is of 400 degrees Celsius. This is a drying zone. And second section is 1000 degrees Celsius. Here the calcium clay, that is CaO, calcium carbonate, all the calcium carbonate, calcium products are get decomposed. And after this, the magnesium carbonate is decomposed. And at the last, where the temperature is around 1500, here the clinkers are formed. So the third zone is the clinkering zone, and in this zone we get dicalcium silicate, tricalcium silicate, tricalcium aluminate, and tetracalcium aluminoferrite. So these are the compounds, or these are the clinkers which you get here in this zone. So this zone is the very hot zone. So here the clinkers which you get need to be cooled first. So after cooling the clinkers, the grinding is done. The cooled clinkers are received from the cooling pans and sent into the mills. The clinkers are grinded finely into the powder with either in the tube mill or in the ball mill. At this point, during the grinding of clinkers, the powdered gypsum is added. Why this is added? This is to retard. This is a retarding agent. What does it do? The gypsum, that is calcium sulfate, it basically delay the initial setting time of the cement. So initial set is due to the hydration of tricalcium aluminate. So here in this reaction you can see that calcium sulfate interfere the hydration of tricalcium aluminate. So in this way it retard the setting time of the cement. So it is required that before grinding the cement, it is required that 2 to 3% gypsum should be added. Finally, the grinded cement is stored in silos. What are silos? Silos are basically these type of tanks, storing tanks. At the bottom of the silos, the discharging holes are present. As you can see here, the discharging holes are present. So these grinded cement is stored in silos, from which it is marketed either in container load or in 50 kgs of bags. So here the picture, here in this slide you can see the overall manufacturing of the Portland cement. This is the schematic diagram. So what here is done? Let us summarize this process. So here in first step you can see calcareous and argillaceous materials. They are the raw material. They are stored. They are first stored in a tank or in a silos. Then they are heated, they are grinded, and then they are burned in a rotary kiln. After removing from rotary kiln, the clinkers are then cooled and grinded. Here the gypsum is added. Gypsum is added during the grinding, and finally again they are stored in a silos, and then they are packed and dispatched. So this is the overall process of the manufacturing of Portland cement. Here we have shown the percentage composition of Portland cement. So the ratio of dicalcium silicate is 27%, tricalcium silicate is 48%, tricalcium aluminate is 10%, tetracalcium aluminoferrite is 8%, free lime is present 0.9%, magnesium oxide is present 2.5%, and gypsum which is added, it should be 2.8%. So this is all about the manufacturing of Portland cement through rotary kiln. Thank you.